Last year, the basketball world celebrated when the NCAA all-time scoring record was broken by Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark becomes the all-time leading scorer.
She went on to be the #1 pick in the WNBA draft.
The podium, she is officially a member of the Indiana Fever after...
But what people don't know is that there was also a generational college scorer playing in men's D1 basketball at the same time. But unlike Caitlin, he wasn't the #1 pick. He went undrafted, and now in 2025 at 26 years old, he has still never played an NBA game. So what happened to Antoine Davis, the greatest male college basketball scorer in half a century, who some say is the greatest scorer in the history of NCAA basketball? Antoine Davis from Bloomington, Indiana grew up in a basketball family. His father, Mike Davis, coached under Bob Knight at Indiana, and Antoine's history with NCAA basketball started here, sitting courtside at a young age watching Indiana in the tournament during the early 2000s. It wasn't until Antoine was 12 years old when he started taking basketball seriously, and he caught up to his peers very quickly, thanks to long, hard one-on-one sessions with John Lucas II, a former #1 pick in the NBA draft who spent almost 3 decades in the league as both a player and coach. In high school, Antoine went under the radar. He wasn't a McDonald's All-American or a ranked prospect. He was overlooked because of his size at 6'1" and actually received 0 D1 college offers. But little did schools know they were sleeping on the greatest college scorer of his generation. Fortunately for Antoine, his father Mike was head coach of Detroit Mercy, and while nepotism may have played a factor in him getting his D1 opportunity, you can't say it wasn't warranted, because Antoine Davis proved that he belonged right away, scoring 32 points in his college basketball debut against Western Michigan. A few weeks later, he set Detroit's freshman record, scoring 42 points against the Loyola Greyhounds, then bested that again with 48 points against Wright State, hitting 10 of 15 three-pointers. Antoine Davis had one of the greatest freshman scoring seasons in NCAA history, averaging 26.1 points per game. He shot 40% from the field, 38% from three-point range, and also averaged 3.6 assists and 3.1 rebounds. Now when you compare this to other freshmen in his class, here is Zion Williamson, the National Player of the Year and #1 pick in the draft. Antoine Davis averaged more points than him. Ja Morant, a sophomore at Murray State, was considered the best guard in college basketball. He went #2 in the draft and like Zion became an NBA star. Yet Antoine Davis averaged more points than him too. Antoine Davis made history, becoming the first freshman to make the All-Horizon League first team since Gordon Hayward. With 132 made three-pointers, he surpassed the freshman record of 122 set by Steph Curry at Davidson. And with 784 points, he fell just 1 point shy of Rashad Phillips' single-season scoring record with 785 points. Spoiler alert, it won't be the only time in this video he falls a single basket short of being #1 in the history books. But despite his incredible freshman season, Antoine wasn't taken serious by NBA scouts. And this is a common theme for the NCAA's best scorers, because this same season Chris Clemens, a senior who led the NCAA in scoring averaging 30 points per game, also went undrafted. Davis returned to college for his sophomore season, and after already proving himself to be a great capable young scorer, his objective was to showcase other parts of his game. He still averaged 24.3 points, led the conference in scoring, and also increased his assist and steal averages, jumping from 3.6 and 0.9 to 4.5 and 1.7 per game. His efficiency took a hit, shooting 38% from the field and just 32% from the perimeter, but he still made the All-Horizon first team for a second consecutive year. And he saved his best for the Horizon League playoffs. In one game, Davis went off for 46 points, making 10 three-pointers, falling just 3 points shy of the school's single-game scoring record. Yet again, not for the last time, falling short of history by 1 miss. In year 3, it was more of the same from Antoine Davis. He averaged 24 points per game, a career-high 4.8 assists as well as 1.5 steals and 2.9 rebounds per game. He shot 42% from the field, 37% from three-point range, and a career-high 92% from the free-throw line. This was the best the team had been. They were the 3rd seed in the Horizon League Conference, and it was their best chance of qualifying for the NCAA tournament, but their season ended in disappointment March 2nd, 2021, suffering a devastating 1-point loss to Northern Kentucky in the Horizon League tournament quarterfinals. And just like that, the season was over. Losing at the buzzer was heartbreaking for Detroit, but it also motivated Antoine to come back even better for his 4th and possibly final year. Statistically, the numbers in this season don't look too different to previous years. Davis averaged 23.9 points, 3.6 rebounds, 4.4 assists and 1 steal per game, but he did so on the most efficient shooting splits of his career, shooting 43% from the field and an above average 38% from the perimeter. When the season ended, Davis had made more history history, becoming the first player to make the All-Conference first team for 4 consecutive years, and he was also Horizon League Player of the Year. In most cases, this would be the end of his college career, but this is where things get interesting. Davis had played 4 years of college basketball, but because the 2019-20 season was cut short due to COVID, the NCAA allowed players an extra year of eligibility, and this gave Davis an opportunity of a lifetime to break the all-time NCAA scoring record held by Pete Maravich. Now, going into the season, it was possible, but unlikely. Davis had scored 2,734 points, so he needed 933 points to tie Pete Maravich's record of 3,667 points. The most points Davis ever managed in a single season was 784, so assuming he played his average of 29 games, he would have to average 32 points per game, which would be historic, as the highest ever points per game in a single season this century was Chris Clemens when he averaged 30 points per game in the 2018-19 season. The odds were stacked against Antoine Davis. In order to accomplish this historic feat, he would have to lead the nation in scoring and score better than he ever did before, and that is exactly what he did in his final season. But before we get into today's video, let me shout out today's sponsor, FlexiSpot, who by the way just partnered with NBA superstar Paul George, which if you know anything about PG, he's all about bouncing back from adversity, obsessing over fine details and standing up after falling down. It really fits perfectly. I've been using their E7 Pro standing desk this past week, and genuinely I wish I had this thing sooner. Overnight my motivation and productivity instantly boosted. Being at my desk doesn't feel like a chore anymore. It's where I want to be. And I think the main reason for that is being able to switch between sitting and standing throughout the day. Because when I'm grinding through tedious tasks, writing scripts, editing long videos, just being able to stand up without leaving my workspace has kept me locked in a way that sitting all day never did for me. I used to always hit a brick wall around the 2-3 hour mark. Now I feel free. I'm not in a rush to finish tasks, and I'm getting so much more work done because of that. So let me tell you more about the desk itself. It adjusts anywhere from 25 up to 50 inches and can hold 440 pounds worth of stuff without wobbling at any height. FlexiSpot also comes with a 15-year warranty, and that's a big thing because it shows how much confidence the brand has in their product. Their brand day sale is officially live now, up to 80% off, free orders available, and the Paul George collab is officially launched. For students, teachers, military and medical people, there are extra discounts for you on the site too. So scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description and use code YTE730 for an extra $30 off. Thank you for FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. First game of the season against Green Bay, Davis went crazy, 38 points on 15 of 24 shooting, including 6 3-pointers. And his hot start continued into November, with 28 points against Ohio, 26 against Charlotte, and 29 against Bryant. After some rough games to close out the month, Davis did get back to his scoring ways in December, erupting for 36 points in a rematch with Charlotte. He dropped 30 on Eastern Michigan on New Year's Eve, and closed the year with 31 points against Milwaukee. Halfway through the season, the record still seemed like a long shot, but Davis embraced the challenge and took his scoring to another level in 2023. First game of the new year, he had 27 points against Wright State, then followed that up with 29 against Northern Kentucky. And as you're about to see, every game he upped the ante, scoring more points than he did in the last game, 32 against Youngstown State. Then against Robert Morris, he had 41 points on 15 of 26 shooting, including 11 free balls. In the next game, he bested that again with 42 points against the Indianapolis Jaguars. Though his scoring tear came to an end against Oakland, Davis struggled with 14 points on 3 of 16 shooting. After that, he bounced back with 29 points against Robert Morris. He then struggled again, going 5 of 18 from the field, scoring just 15 points against Youngstown State. And with less than 10 games to go in the college season, Antoine Davis was just 335 points shy of the record, meaning he'd need to average an insane 33.5 points per game over his next 10 games to pull this off. And from February onwards, he locked in with 35 points against Cleveland State, another 32 against Purdue Fort Wayne, and then he dropped 40 plus in back-to-back games, with 42 in a loss to Milwaukee and 41 in a win against Green Bay. 6 games left and the record was there to be broken. He took steps closer with 30 against Oakland, then 31 against Indianapolis. Then he had a poor shooting night against Northern Kentucky, shooting 31% from the field in a loss, but because he was able to make 11 of his 12 free throws, he was able to finish with 27. With just 3 games remaining, Davis needed 97 points. If he could average 32.3 points per game to end the season, he would break a 53-year record. He needed some big scoring performances and he delivered. It may have taken him 33 shots, but he scored 34 points against Wright State. Then against Purdue Fort Wayne again, Davis had just the type of performance he needed. It was a great all-around game, 8 assists, 8 rebounds and 4 steals and a victory, but the most important thing was the 38 points. This took his points tally on the season to 908. He only needed 933 points on the season to break the record, with 3,642 points scored in college basketball, and with 3,667 being the target, it all came down to one game. Detroit Mercy versus Youngstown State. He needed 24 points to tie, 25 points to surpass the record. He'd averaged 30 on the season. He'd already gone off for 32 and 28 points against this team this season. Everything was set up for Antoine Davis to become the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, and in the Horizon League Championship, fans rallied to Ohio to be in attendance and witness history. And you won't believe what Davis did in this game. Antoine Davis scored, but not quite enough. History was slipping through his fingertips, and into the final minute of his final game with 20 points, he was just 2 scoring possessions away from basketball immortality. Just as time was running out, Davis was giving a lifeline. A technical foul from the opposing coach sent him to the line, and what happened next, you just have to watch.
Up 4 with a half minute to go. They got to keep playing defense. Davis near corners, 3, no! Rebound, Green! Ball thrown to Davis. Left side, 4-3, no good. 20 points for him. YSU leads 71-66. 7 seconds left. Davis to tie the record. It's off the mark. Rebound to Rush of YSU. Laying on the floor. Game over.
That 3-pointer right there, that one single shot is one Antoine Davis will think about for a lifetime. He also missed a wide open 3 in the final 2 minutes that he won't forget either. He finished this game with 22 points, falling 3 points shy of the record. He had a bad game, shooting 7 of 26 from the field. It was a horrible time to have a horrible game. But when you really think about it, it gets even worse. Davis made 588 3-pointers in his college basketball career. All he needed was one more. For Davis, it's impossible not to think about the free throws, the shots over the years that rimmed out, that one open layup you might have smoked your freshman year. He came so close but fell so far, and regardless of how impressive you may think it is with him having an extra year, or the fact that Pete Maravich did it in less time, you have to feel for Antoine Davis, because to chase something for 5 years and come this close and fall short is heartbreaking. Antoine Davis was obviously disappointed, and Detroit Mercy actually formally requested that the NCAA invited them to a tournament game to give him the opportunity to break the record. This idea gained a lot of support from fans and people around college basketball. After all, records are meant to be broken and celebrated, but the NCAA declined the proposal. Many people speculated that they wanted to keep the record intact for Caitlin Clark, who was on pace to break it the following year, meaning Antoine Davis simply has to live with the fact forever that he never broke this record. But still, being the second all-time scorer in men's college basketball is something to be celebrated, and he did break a bunch of other records his senior year. He became the Horizon League's all-time leading scorer, he has the most 3-pointers made in D1 basketball history, he repeated as Horizon League Player of the Year and became the first player to be named All-League First Team for 5 straight years. He left a legacy at the collegiate level, he's put his name in the history books, and will no doubt have his number retired at the school. But all of this was in 2023, so where is Antoine Davis now and what has happened to him since? Well, despite being the leading scorer in all of college basketball his final season, averaging 28.2 points, 3 rebounds, 4.1 assists, 1.2 steals on good efficiency, shooting 41% from the field, 41% from the 3-point line and 91% from the free throw line, going into the 2023 NBA draft he was actually a projected 2nd round pick. But why was that? Well, his age played a factor in this. Being 24 years old going into the draft, he'd be a 25-year-old rookie by the time the NBA season started, and NBA teams look for younger players in the draft, who they have more time to work with and help fulfill their full potential. For Davis, as a 6'1" combo guard, he didn't fit the mold of modern NBA guards. He's not a traditional point guard or a pass first. He's a volume scorer, and while proven by his assist numbers he can find the open man and make reads, his playmaking skills were considered below average for NBA level point guards. We have to understand that getting assists and running an offense are two completely different things. So the conclusion teams came to is that you can't run him at the point, and at the 2 he's a little undersized for his position. Despite all of this, he was still a great shot creator and shot maker, with a quick first step, crafty handle and lethal crossover to beat his defender one-on-one. But while he's able to get buckets, scouts weren't impressed with his shot selection. Let's not sugarcoat it. Antoine Davis was a shot chucker. You don't become the second leading scorer in NCAA history without getting them up in a hurry, and while he's capable of making difficult shots, a lot of the looks that he settles for are low percentage looks, and unless you're an established NBA star, if you take those type of shots in the NBA, you're gonna get sat on the bench. Another big concern scouts had was how his game would translate to being a role player. Davis averaged 22.2 shot attempts per game his senior year in college. For comparison, SGA, the NBA's leading scorer, averaged 21.8 field goal attempts this season. He took more shots than the NBA's leading scorer, and no second round pick is ever going to come in as a rookie and have the green light to chuck up that amount of shots. They also said that Davis lacked the size and strength to be able to defend other NBA guards, so the conclusion NBA teams came to was pretty simple. He's never going to be a star in the league, and they simply don't believe his skill set translates well to being a role player. And while he did possess attributes that would maybe translate well to a spark plug that can come off the bench and score, as an older prospect he simply wasn't worth the risk. GMs thought there were better options out there, and that is why Antoine Davis went undrafted in the 2023 NBA draft. But that didn't mean his career was over. These days going undrafted really isn't the end of the world. Matter of fact, it's only a bump in the road, and we're seeing now more than ever undrafted players have successful careers in the NBA. Austin Reeves went undrafted in 2021. He's since become an NBA star and even represented Team USA at a major tournament. Fred VanVleet went undrafted, became a champion, an all-star, and made over $100 million over his career. And that's just two of many examples. Antoine Davis would have to take the hard path, but he wasn't short of opportunities, as shortly after going undrafted he was invited to NBA Summer League in Las Vegas, joining the Portland Trail Blazers, which gave him the chance to showcase his talents and to earn an NBA contract. Playing time wasn't going to be easy though, as Davis would have to compete with Shaedon Sharpe and number 3 draft pick Scoot Henderson for game time. Fortunately for Davis, Scoot would go down with injury early in the tournament, resulting in slightly more minutes, but Davis failed to make an impression in Vegas, featuring in 4 games for an average of 10 minutes a game and putting up 3.2 points, 2.2 rebounds and 2.8 assists, numbers that aren't very impressive at all. But the worst part about it was his efficiency. He shot just 22% from the field and 23% from 3-point range. He did look better in his final game against the Rockets, scoring 11 points on 4 of 10 shooting and even making 3 of his 6 shot attempts from deep, but still not good enough to earn a full-time contract. That being said though, despite his disappointing showing on the big stage, the Blazers saw enough in practices and scrimmages to justify keeping him around and giving him a chance. So they assigned him to their G League roster for the 2023-24 season. Playing with the Rip City remix, Davis earned a starting spot throughout the season, and he put up some solid numbers, averaging 17.8 points on 43% shooting from the field, and also hitting 39% of his shots from downtown. Davis also grabbed 3.3 rebounds and dished out 1.8 assists. He had some big performances throughout the G League season, dropping 28 and 26 points in back-to-back games against Mexico City. He had 27 against the Grand Valley Vipers, 22 twice against Ignite, and 24 against the Skyforce. But his best performance of the G League season came against the Wisconsin Herd, and it was the one time throughout the G League regular season where Antoine Davis looked like the all-time great scorer we saw in college.
Tajay Moore with a basketball. Davis, he'll fire it up. The most made threes in the G League in the regular season, and he knocks down his first one tonight. Crisis averted on that one, depending on your perspective.
What do I have on the outside?
Antoine Davis. Davis, he can't convert the three-point play, but now another chance. Davis fires up a deep one, and he is hot.
Half court, all-star game action?
I wouldn't put it past him. Instead, he opts for the mid-range. Long rebound fought for. Davis off the reset. Why not?
Oh my goodness.
Davis finished the game with 41 points, 9 made three-pointers on 52% shooting from the field in a victory. And while his performances throughout his rookie season in the G League might not have earned him an NBA contract, it did catch the attention of the Sacramento Kings. They were really high on him and invited him to join their team for 2024 NBA Summer League, which gave him a real chance of making a roster for a new team. This time, Davis got off to a great start. At the California Classic, he went off for 20 points on 7 of 11 shooting against the Lakers. He then scored 10 against the Heat and earned a place in the starting lineup against Charlotte. Davis had a solid game again, scoring 14 points with 5 assists and 3 rebounds. He finished the tournament averaging 14.7 points while shooting 44% from the field and 41% from the perimeter. Very impressive. But unfortunately for Davis, once it was time for the real thing in Vegas, with more talent on the roster, he received considerably less playing time. He played just 18 minutes over 3 games, scored a total of 7 points, and average numbers not even worth mentioning due to lack of playing time. Now to present date, he spent the 2024-25 season playing with the Stockton Kings in the G League. In this past season, he averaged 9.5 points, 1.9 rebounds and just 0.9 assists per game. The efficiency is still solid, shooting 41% from the field and 42% from 3-point range. And he's also had some really good games. Against the Clippers, he was on fire, dropping 33 points on 12 of 17 shooting, even hitting 9 3-pointers. Against Bronny James in the South Bay Lakers, he had 27 points on 9 of 14 shooting with 8 made free balls. And in this game, he even closed the deal down the stretch.
Well, it's been all Stockton in the fourth quarter. And instead of running to the rim, guess what? Kentucky, 28th pick in 2016. He's been to the G now for a number of years, and that's not the guy you want leaving alone.
Just trying to see where you can pick the tempo up.
I knew Davis was going to take another peek at UAC.
So overall, looking at his entire career, there's no denying that Antoine Davis is a capable scorer that can get hot in a hurry. But at 27 years old, it's very unlikely he's going to get an NBA opportunity anytime soon. So what does his future look like? Well, Davis may end up returning to NBA Summer League this summer for one final chance at the league, but unless he wants to stick around in the G League and become another Andre Ingram, it's most likely his next chapter will be overseas, which I think is the best path for him, because while 6'1" scoring guards might be out of style in the NBA, a lot of those guys are having a ton of success overseas. Kendrick Nunn, who was also a great college scorer, has won a EuroLeague championship and MVP. Shane Larkin is a multiple-time EuroLeague champion. Mike James is the EuroLeague's all-time leading scorer. Guys like Carson Edwards, Scottie Wilbekin, Marcus Howard are all very talented hoopers who have made great careers for themselves after failing to sustain a roster spot in the NBA. That is the best path Davis can take. Go play in Europe, try and establish yourself as a top pro overseas. Make a living playing the game you love in an amazing country. Because of his reputation and what he accomplished at the collegiate level, there is teams that would be willing to take a chance on him. Another path he could consider taking is the Jimmer Fredette route. Go play in China, have a lead role and put up crazy numbers. Jimmer is actually a great example because he was a college star too, averaging 28 points per game and winning National Player of the Year his senior year. While he failed in the NBA, he went to the Shanghai Sharks at around 26 years old, the same age as Antoine Davis now. Jimmer made millions, averaged 40 points per game and became a basketball icon in China. This type of career could be out there for Antoine Davis. The only question now is what path he chooses to take. But speaking of Jimmer Fredette, we recently released a 30-minute documentary detailing his unique career and everything that happened to him, and you can watch it by clicking the big box in the middle of your screen. But before you check that out, I want you to share your thoughts and feedback down below in the comments about Antoine Davis and why you think that one of college basketball's greatest ever scorers went undrafted and has never played an NBA game. I'll leave you guys with that, and on that note, it's DKM signing out until next time, and peace.